Good morning, everybody, as in nobody. This broadcast, I guess, is answering a question someone asked me in my last one after my last video. What's every mistake you've made in aquaponic businesses? I have made a lot. Let me tell you. Almost everything of business I've ever learned has come from mistakes I've made. Attempting to commercialize indoor farming, and by commercialize I mean turn into profitable and turn these set of like practices and techniques and technologies into a profitable business that could scale and create a bigger impact. So I'm just going to go in chronological order because it's easier for me to remember more. But right off the bat, when I started 312 Aquaponics, it was just a name on a folder because I was looking at different types of businesses to start. And I had different major problems in the Chicagoland area. And I thought, well, if I could solve a big problem or attempt to solve a really, really big problem, then it's a bigger market, and I would have more of a likelihood of getting a business up and running, the bigger the market. And so I went after really big problems, and one of them was food deserts. And that turned into indoor farming and 312 Aquaponics. So I came across aquaponics because a friend of mine in college, his roommate, and my friend, started a system in his living room. Just went hog wild and built this giant thing. And the growth rate of these plants was like tremendous in respect to anything else I've ever seen. And at the time I was studying indoor biophysics and cellular, just how water moves through cell membranes, and it totally piqued my interest. I was like, oh, the water in an aquaponics system is the reason the aquaponics system is so interesting. Aquaponic farming is so interesting. Bacteria in particular. So that became my indoor farming solution, or my food desert solution. Alright, so I decided I'm going to start a business. I was most excited about food deserts and indoor farming, and aquaponics as a solution to food deserts. When the first mistake I made was taking on partners in equal lots. So I decided to start the company. I brought in this guy named Brian and this guy named Andrew, and Brian was an accountant major, I was a physics major, and then Andrew was a biology major. And we brought, I don't want to get into like so much detail, but let me focus more on my mistakes. Forming the company and dividing equity equally amongst 4 partners off the bat, because we each got 16% of 312 Aquaponics, and then our investor got like the remaining 36% or whatever that comes to. And the problem was there wasn't enough equity to keep us all motivated. As we got diluted, as we wanted to raise more money and people would want more equity, it would come out of us. So from 16%, we'd quickly go down to 8%, and less and less, while investors got more and more. And it just didn't make sense for how much effort we were putting in. I felt like I was putting in. And not everybody did the same amount of work. Me and another partner did the majority of the work, and the other 2 just kind of hung around. And yet they got paid equally, and they owned equal amounts of the business. That was totally demoralizing, demotivating as a founder. So don't have 4 founders. There's no such business with 4 founders who have equal equity. You and one other person need to start a business. One of you needs to be the business side, one of you needs to be the product side, and maybe you have a third co-founder to handle highly technical issues, if that's the case, but they will have neither. Typically they should not have the business sense nor the customer knowledge. That should be owned by 2 people in the business. One, if you're like super advanced, you have many ventures in. But even then, it always helps to have a business partner. So that was a big problem. Not starting small. We went full hog and we started 1,000 square foot. We rented 3,500 square feet, and about 1,000 of it, I put a giant $60,000 aquaponics system. Too many assumptions were tested on that giant system, like growth rate and yield and all this shit all at the same time. And I designed that system. It was too bulky, not enough grow area, not enough grow trays, didn't produce enough food. And so if I had started smaller and tested the concept iteratively and worked up to it, in a very small place, I would have saved a lot of money, 60 grand, and been able to make more. I only made, coincidentally, 16K from that whole thing, pre-tax, from 312 Aquaponics. From we raised 140,000. I got 16,000 of that for 2 years of effort. You know what I mean? So it was not enough money to live off of at all. I only raised enough money for 6 months. So I had too many partners. They all got 16K in salary, and they shouldn't have. 2 of them shouldn't have even been paid for the amount of fucking work they did up front. Overall, I should say. And me and my other partner had a day job, and so a night job, I guess. And I was the only one who was actually working full steam ahead on the business and did not have side income coming in. So I should have, if I had taken care of myself and let everyone else put in the same amount of time they put in the end anyway, I would have been able to go further with the venture because I would have had the backing to not have to take side jobs. So, raising enough money, but paying yourself to focus on it is really important, or else you get distracted so quickly by whatever it is you need to do to make a living. Just the first system being way too big, just saying we got to go big or go home, building that huge system off the bat, that was a big mistake. Renting too much space than I needed. We never expanded into 3,500 square feet, so I was just paying rent. When we paid rent, I paid 6 months in advance. We only raised money for 6 months worth of runway. That was another issue. That money could have gone, 140 grand could have gone for a year easily if or the person designing, building, running the farm was paid for. The 1 or 2 people that did that. We could have lasted a year, no problem, in a smaller farm too. Too many partners, equal pay, not budgeting for 12 to 18 months. Paying rent up front was a huge mistake because as soon as you pay rent up front, we paid for 6 months, we lost we lost all leverage with our landlord. So we did not get running water in our space. We did not get heating or cooling in our space. All these things were promised as the building was going to be finished. We never got because we never had the opportunity to say, hey, we're not paying rent until you do what you promised in the lease. And even if you threaten that, we already paid 6 months. So it's, it's the nature of commercial real estate, especially undercapitalized commercial real estate. So paying that rent up front was a dumb move. So we paid these consultants early on, 5 grand to get us wholesale pricing, and all they did was fucking call local distributors on our behalf and get the price per pound of a couple stupid things, and then help us really hone in our mission statement and vision statement. And it was bullshit. It was the most. They went to California for a month off that 5 grand, and it was you could literally call your distributor and get the price from them directly. So paying consultants to feel like you're a professional. When I needed more cash to keep going, I borrowed personally from our investor, our principal investor, and I should have been selling equity because I owe him money now. And I should have sold him some equity of mine, my 16%. If you're in that situation, just peel off some of your equity. Don't take a personal loan. It doesn't make sense. Not focusing on our core business. Customers started coming to us at 312 Aquaponics with the only indoor vertical aquaponics system in the U.S., as far as I know, and definitely the only commercial aquaponics system anywhere in the Midwest. And so clients started coming to us and say, hey, we want aquaponics systems. Loyola Academy came to us, Lane Tech High School came to us, Moto Restaurant came to us, and we started, our first check was 11 grand for designing an aquaponics system for Loyola, 2 aquaponics systems, 2 big aquaponics systems, 20-foot wide one for show, and like a multi-unit, multi-segment one for educational purposes, like 20 by 50 feet for educational purposes. And they said, we have a budget of 11 grand, so let's make this happen. Guess who designed the whole shebang? Almost, 95% my work. Guess who only got a quarter of the money? So trying to be fair and then screwing yourself over is like called bad business practice or acumen, and not having that business acumen is a big issue. Yeah, I should have. God, that 10 grand would have like changed my life back then. So we didn't double down. Like 3 people came to us for these things, and then we didn't turn around and say, "Oh my God, here we are. We're a custom system designer." And I wanted to start a venture-backed business where we were going to scale this thing and produce equipment and go for it and do this whole big thing. My partners were just dicking around and wanted to cash checks. So when we got the Lane Tech thing, it kind of became clear that this is a lifestyle business, and I just grew very bored of that. And like, I have a 16% stake in a small business, and I felt like all the design work, all the engineering, all the math, and I wasn't being paid nearly, adequately. And being on the same page with your business partners, big deal. So those were all the major mistakes that threw into aquaponics. So then when I started a farm tower company, I said, F indoor farming, I'm going, went to Boston for a week and came back, and I stopped I left 3 went to aquaponics that winter 2012, came back, the spring of 2013, people were calling me for aquaponics systems from restaurants and stuff, and I went back to the drawing board and started a prototype, a small system, in my parents' basement, because me and my fiance could not afford it all, or my girlfriend at the time, and started Farm Tower Company as like a project. It was just me selling DIY kits to home schools and restaurants, and I got a call from Steve Chiappetti for his Italian restaurant that is no longer open, for a walled garden, and I was like, great. I ended up getting $3,800 from him to design that system. And Steve, God bless him, every restaurateur was like pre-launch, and they're like, we're launching on this date. Well, it turns out that date is never, it's a soft launch, first off, and don't believe them, because to save like a week or 10 days, I needed these Botanicare 1 foot by 8 foot trays. That was the basis of my whole system. I was going to put 3 of them on the wall. 10 by 20 flats would sit in them. There'd be fluorescence over it and a reservoir hidden, and it'd just be a simple irrigation to the top, trickle, trickle, trickle. I felt unnecessarily rushed by the client, and I had to buy trays, because these trays would have come from California from a distributor's warehouse. This is the closest one he had them in, and it would take like 2 weeks, and then I ended up looking locally for a suitable solution, and I bought fucking food storage trays, these big, like 2 foot by 1 foot trays or something, white trays for like lettuce and stuff. Ended up drilling holes in the lid and hanging net pots in there, and like all of a sudden it went from 3 large trays to 9, small trays, and irrigation went from 1 feed in the top and then gravity down to 3 feeds and 3 gravity drains down. And oh, guess what? The storage trays I was using weren't meant for this process at all, it had no need to be flat, and so the bottoms of each one were curved, the lids were all not even, and the amount of water I'd calculated for the size of reservoir I had the space to use did not allow me to fill these white trays enough. So as the bottom was curved like this, the plants in the edges they had to go further to get water, and so they did not do well. The ones in the center did well, but that was a big mistake. And then he wanted like a rustic shelf unit to sit out from the wall and for these trays to be kind of hidden by. And instead of having his carpenter make the trays or the shelves real fast for nothing out of my pocket, I spent a grueling week or two running back and forth to Menards. Oh my God. So I decided to go with artificial decking as my affordable rustic wood option. And so I got garage. I like totally picked the wrong parts to make this system out of. Ended up, I said that it was going to cost me $1,400 in parts. I would charge, the same amount for labor. I made probably $500 in that whole thing, and I mean, if that, I spent it all between food and gas and extra trips and stuff. And then the whole thing didn't work as I was designed it to, because I used the wrong trays, and it took way too much time because I made the stupid carpenter would have made the shelves in 5 minutes. It took me like the hardest thing I've ever made. I've never made and keeping everything flat and straight. I had to redo it 100 times. It was a nightmare. That was a big mistake. So use the design you know is going to work, and outsource the mechanical stuff if that's not your forte. Plumbing, electrical, all that shit. It's not complicated for a professional, and it won't take that much time from them even if they charge you. And then I got a job at Lane Tech, a gig, and I think I charged around $3,000 for that. They wanted a mobile aquaponics system for their cafeteria for the kids to see, and I wanted to make a big splash, so I bought a mobile racking system. The first one, I had used one at home that was green and of a good dimension that I ended up coming back to, but I wanted to go big, and I made the system bigger than it needed to be, and which wasn't the biggest issue. It looked a little dumb, but the rolling cart when I assembled it in the cafeteria was too big to remove from the cafeteria, so that was a big issue. I had to shave off the nubs on the top, and so I could leave the cafeteria like with a hacksaw. So measure your doors. That was a lesson I should have learned from 312 Aquaponics. We didn't measure one door. We had to carry these 250-pound wooden boat fiberglass coated wood trays, 8 by 8 by 1 foot trays made out of solid wood and coated with fiberglass through every floor to the 3rd floor. Don't start your indoor farm off the 1st floor. If you don't have truck access directly, and if you can't load a truck and pallets directly into your space, you're not in the right space. We had to go up these elevators, and then we had to use 3 different elevators because the one door we were going to take a straight shot at 312 Aquaponics into our space I didn't measure. Nobody measured. So I thought I'd learned that lesson, but alas. Back to Lane Tech, mobile vertical system. And then the program director there thought it'd be nice to have a glass tank so the kids could see the fish. I found an affordable one that fit, but the rectangular corners of the glass tank collected waste and jacked the pH. So I should have just had my rugged aquaponic designs. That system didn't do well. Fish died. Again, it was like half-hearted. That was if I had nailed those 2 projects, I could have had a business right there. But I kept going too far with my designs. Don't overcomplicate your designs, and don't go much further. Go as, how do I say this? Keep the variance between your build outs as little as how do I say this? Don't test on your clients. you know, if all these people knew that this was like brand new stuff and that I've never done these designs for them, so they knew what was going in it, and they weren't mad when it didn't work out, but it could have been so much better. But I was like, no one had done these systems. I had no one to Google from. There was no one online sharing shit that like worked like this. So I was totally on my own, and my designs were just a little too risky. They needed, you know, don't build prototypes for your clients. So looking back on it, I could have literally just had a bunch of goldfish in the damn tank at Loyola at Lane Tech with one of these tubs, and it would have been fine. And if I just had my trays at the restaurant, it would have been fine. But I felt pressured by the client. I succumbed to pressure from the client. Don't succumb to pressure from your clients. If you build a house for them, you will never build a house that, an architect will never design a house they don't think is going to work. And then I had no business partner at Farm Tower. That was really tough because I was selling these units, and maintaining them was a giant pain in my ass. I had negotiated free lease at a really nice space, so I had like 1,200 square feet for equity, and I did not raise enough money at all. I had 10 grand in convertible notes, so again, I didn't have a job. Oh, big problem, I did not take a job at Farm Tower, even though I knew that I met the HR person for a company upstairs from mine, where I could have worked for like 40 to 50 grand a year, 9 to 5, and before and after work, I could have walked past my farm, checked on it, and had the money to invest in ads to get more clients or sell more units, and to maintain my farm with whatever knickknacks I wanted to. So I felt like, oh, I got it, the pressure. Sold 5 units, but did not turn it into a practical business. Oh man, so many failures. There was no one doing this shit back then, though. I had no contemporaries. And then at Farmbox Fresh, so the people that invested 10K, 5K each in the Farmbox Fresh became my partners, or in Farm Tower. I said, fuck DIY home farming for profit and commercial, you know, like selling units. Let's go big. Let's make money off the produce, because I discovered a new form of fertilizer at Farm Tower. I had tested a lot of lettuces and the Solanova mix, and I'm like, this is it. We got to scale this. So a year later, I managed to raise 50 grand from one of these guys, 75 grand to start another just hydroponic organic farm. That is not an aquaponic mistake, but again, not enough money raised, wrong partners, inadequate. I didn't have an income, so I was living, it was like I was desperate the whole time. I was not making good decisions. So I was lucky to get out of there with my shirt, but in general, have one partner that you believe is family, that you feel is family. If you're going to raise enough money for 12 months. Pay yourself. Don't change your mechanical aspects of your design for a client. Refuse the job if you can't design the system you know will work. Charge more than you think you should. Start small. Prototype small. Don't rent more square feet than you absolutely need. Have a side job if you don't have enough money in the business. Don't split up equity evenly. Start selling the produce ASAP. Don't hire consultants that haven't done the thing you're trying to do. Understand your financial model. Have a fucking financial model. It took me the third try to learn how to make a financial model. Hire a lawyer to review your documents. So that's all my aquaponic mistakes. Out of that though, I know how to design hundreds, any type of system, size. I can build out fish systems, plant systems, I can raise money, I can structure a business, I could sell online, I learned how to do digital marketing through that. Oh, I wrote a book in this process, and that's really what launched my digital marketing career, was learning that, whoa, selling the book online is profitable. Which you could download for free at the link below. Yeah, that's the book I'm giving away. It was like a training ground for business for me, for entrepreneurship and clean tech and commercialization, all that shit. And now I know after all those meetings and pitches and negotiations and sales, build outs, I know a lot about a lot, and it's kind of cool. So I'm in a unique place, but it was hard earned, and wouldn't expect anyone else to go through it. If you're gonna start an aquaponic farm, don't. Grow for yourself, grow in your basement, grow in your garage, grow in a school for the community, grow for the community, do not grow for profit. You will not enjoy life, I guarantee you. It's just not a good business. Plenty of businesses are bad businesses. Very few businesses are great businesses, meaning the amount of effort you have to put in and is worth a lot of profit margin, enough profit margin. Restaurants are hard businesses, right? Aquaponic farms are bad businesses, but they're important. That doesn't mean you need to try to make money off it. Again, if you have a business model you think is worth it, dude, send it to me and I will destroy it for you, guaranteed. All right, that's it for that. That is all my failures in a nutshell. Yeah, it's like 80% of my failures in a nutshell. All right, everybody, have a great day. Take care. Bye.